Our first guest today is heading west after 9 years at the helm of Niagara's Emergency Medical Services. Chief Kevin Smith moves out to BC after his last day on the job in the region on May 6th. Kevin, you're a Niagara College grad. Is this move a bit of a bittersweet one in a way?
Oh, absolutely. I've been born and raised here in Niagara. So Niagara I've called home for 55 years. I've had the privilege of serving the community for 30 years, in emergency medical services. And so making this change is significant, and it wasn't an easy decision to make, that's for sure.
30 years. So I've got to focus on that number right now, because a lot of people at 30 years aren't looking for the next move up.
Right.
They're looking to maybe retire, maybe to bring things down a bit. Why do you take this big move here?
I've asked myself that question, to be honest, because certainly in the role I currently have as chief of the service, I'm going into my 10th year doing this, and we've done some phenomenal things here in Niagara, some things we're really proud of, some great things ahead. I think back to that 30 years in my career, and when I first started as a paramedic 30 years ago, I never aspired to be the chief. I never aspired for any significant role other than to do the best I could in the position that I had and offer an opportunity to help influence change. And so I took that approach pretty much through every position that I had offered to me, and had, again, this great privilege of running the service for the last 10 years. And now, you're right, at this point, I'm thinking about what else is next, right? I've got 4 or 5 years left, and this, as with many things, opportunities find you as opposed to you finding opportunities. And this came forward, and when I started thinking about it and where it fit, within what I thought I might want to achieve in these last few years of my professional career, and then how it fit with my personal life right now, it just seemed like it was something I'm being drawn to do at this point.
We'll get to that opportunity and some of its details, but let's talk about here in Niagara. You mentioned accomplishments. What do you think are some of the big accomplishments?
Oh, wow. Well, thinking back over the 3 decades, I think, what I've seen, the first one was really in 2000, so 22 years ago, when the Ministry of Health in Ontario, they downloaded the responsibility of emergency medical services to the most upper-tier municipality. In this case, it was the region. When I first started in 1992, I was working for a ministry-run service here in Niagara Falls. I also worked part-time in Port Colborne, which was a private ambulance operator. And so in 2000, it took 6 services that were here in Niagara Region at one time and made them one, and that was Niagara EMS. So that was kind of the origin of that. So that was significant to see that development. Moving forward, the dispatch center, when the region was acquired the pilot project to run an innovative dispatch center on behalf of the province to demonstrate effectiveness, efficiencies, and new ways of doing this type of work. That was significant. So that was in 2005 when the dispatch center was set up here in Niagara, and we ended the pilot project in 2010, and it continues today as one of the most celebrated aspects of EMS in Ontario, and something that we've wanted to replicate provincially. And then I think the last thing is really the work that we've done just in the last few years with what we've called system transformation, and that's really modernizing the way that we deliver emergency medical services, not in the linear call 911, we respond, take you to the hospital, but now it's a circle of care around the patient, providing many pathways for them to receive the care they need.
You say you never expected to become chief, no. And that was, I guess, something that never crossed your mind. You mentioned to me privately that you weren't the best of high school students.
Right.
So to me, that shows that you're that person, one of those people that found his niche and really jumped wholeheartedly into it once he found what he loved.
I mean, thinking back about becoming a paramedic in the first place, it's, again, I didn't grow up thinking I want to be a paramedic. As you mentioned, I wasn't strong academically. High school, I can't brag about the great accomplishments there. And when this profession found me, and that's a whole nother story for another day probably, but when you start putting your mind to doing something, and as you age and mature, and that's what I had the opportunity to do this and go back to school and truly apply myself and see what my potential was. And again, I was fortunate to really find passion and joy for this job, and I just applied myself and did everything I could do to make the system better.
And now you're moving on to a bigger stage. You will be in charge, basically, of BC's emergency services. The entire provinces?
Yeah, so unlike Ontario, which there's about 56 ambulance services or paramedic services here in Ontario. So think of 50 odd chiefs of services, of which I'm here in Niagara. The British Columbia model, it is a provincial model. So British Columbia Emergency Health Services, they provide paramedic services for the entire province, border to border. So scope-wise, it's quite a bit larger than Niagara. And my role there is really to help influence a lot of the change that we've been able to do here in Niagara, only it'll be on a much larger scale in British Columbia.
And there's a big difference from South British Columbia up to North British Columbia about how you get those emergency medical services to the people that need them.
Well, and that's really what excites me. When I think about the last 3 or 4 years here and what we've been able to do with that system transformation and the mobile integrated health, one of the things that really excites me about this new opportunity is to work with British Columbia Emergency Health Services and advance what they are looking to do in many of the same ways to develop this mobile integrated health type of a system. And right, you think about the metro heavy urban areas of Vancouver all the way to the most remote areas, and the health needs are going to be much different in all of those areas, and the community, things that impact health the most, are going to be things that we need to consider about how we adapt into that integrated health system out there. So yeah, very big challenge, and one that I'm sure is going to be a little overwhelming at first, but looking forward to that opportunity.
Well, we're excited for you. We're sorry to see you go, but best of luck in your new role come mid-May.
Thank you very much.